So welcome to Canada. Welcome to another episode of Kalahi TV Immigration. Today I want to share with you the announcement made by the Immigration Minister Marco Mendicino regarding the federal government's plan for the next 3 years. Last March 12, Canada Immigration Minister Marco Mendicino announced about the federal government's immigration level for 2020 to 2022. Let us listen to Canada Immigration Minister Marco Mendicino for this announcement.
Good morning. Bonjour tout le monde. Today I am here with my Parliamentary Secretary, Soraya Martinez, to announce that I have just tabled the 2020 to 2022 Immigration Levels Plan in the House of Commons. The proposed plan is based on the solid economic foundation of the previous Levels Plan and, in keeping with my mandate letter from the Prime Minister, continues to responsibly grow the number of permanent residents admitted to Canada each year from 341,000 in 2020 to 351,000 in 2021 and 361,000 in 2022. Our plan will benefit to all Canadians because immigration drives economic growth, contributes to our diversity, spurs innovation, and helps employers across the country access the talent that they need to succeed and to thrive. With this plan, we respond to several commitments we made for Canadians during the last campaign. 1, we will responsibly grow Canada's population. 2, we're going to make the Atlantic Immigration Pilot a permanent program to continue supporting economic growth in Atlantic Canada with 5,000 admissions. 3, we're going to create a new stream to provide a safe haven for human rights advocates, journalists, and humanitarian workers who are at risk abroad. 4, we're going to facilitate the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot and the Agricultural Food Immigration Pilot to address specific labour market shortages. 6, we're going to support family reunification through sustained high admissions. And finally, we will reduce application processing times and improve service delivery and client services at Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. With increased space for the Provincial Nominee Program, a permanent Atlantic Immigration Program, and the Agri-Food and Rural and Northern Immigration Pilots, the Levels Plan directly addresses labour market needs across Canada to ensure businesses can get the talent that they need and where they need it. Nous continuerons également de mettre en œuvre notre plan d'augmentation de l'immigration francophone dehors de Québec, tout en soutenant l'intégration et la rétention des nouveaux arrivants d'expression française et le renforcement des communautés francophones. We have promised Canadians that we will tackle the demographic challenges of an aging population, respond to the labour shortages, and remain globally competitive, and that is exactly what we are going to continue doing with the announcement that we have just made today. Merci.
Mr. Mendicino, can you tell us if there have been any measures taken on the immigration front when it comes to borders or anyone coming into the country in regards to the coronavirus? On your file, are you taking any steps?
Well, first of all, I would say that we place the health, safety, and security as our top priority, and there are already very rigorous screens in place when it comes to admitting both temporary visitors as well as those who are aspiring Canadians, those who wish to be permanent residents. This is a foundational set of measures which have been in place for quite some time, and in addition to that, We are supporting other departments in our whole-of-government response with regards to additional screening, the quarantine provisions which are in place where necessary, self-isolation protocols which, when necessary, are being followed. And it's part as well of the $1 billion package that the government announced with the Prime Minister a couple of days ago to ensure that Canadians have the support they need. We have their back. And we will continue to have the backs of Canadians, the backs of businesses who are the engines of our economy. And today's immigration plan is a step forward to ensure that we continue to enjoy that economic prosperity.
Does the Canadian government support Donald Trump's move that he's just done in the past 24 hours against Europeans coming to the United States?
Well, we will not comment on the decisions of other countries' policies with regards to travel restrictions. What I will say is that here in Canada, we are following the advice of experts, including the World Health Organization, as well as our Chief Medical Officer. I've already made reference to the special measures which we have in place, which are working very effectively, including the additional screening, the self-isolation where necessary, the quarantining where necessary, the additional supports that we have to ensure that our healthcare system has the resources that it needs to address the needs of Canadians. And together, we're confident that this is a strong plan which will ensure that we are keeping as our top priority the health, safety, and security of Canadians.
Okay, but what about the healthcare system in other countries? In order to immigrate to this country, you have to pass a medical exam. And with coronavirus breaking out all over the world, including in some of Canada's top source countries, the ability to get those medical exams surely is going to be more challenging, more taxing, and lead to delays in the immigration system here.
We have in place a series of protocols to ensure that everybody who comes to Canada is screened, as I said. So there are already measures in place to protect Canadians. We screen for health. We screen for security. Those are our baseline measures which are in place. In addition to that, as I said, the Prime Minister has announced that our government is placing additional resources into the healthcare system to ensure that we can effectively respond to those questions. Well, as I said, I won't comment on the policies of other countries.
It's about delays in processing immigration to Canada because there are delays in the healthcare systems in other countries for people to get their medical exams. Are you foreseeing sort of a roll-on impact where people can't get their medicals done in other countries and therefore delays their resettlement to Canada?
What I will comment on are the steps that our government is taking when it comes to our healthcare system, when it comes to our immigration system, and we have made the necessary investments to respond to COVID-19, and those are over and above the rigorous screens that our immigration system has in place already, including biometrics for people who come to this country so that we're ensuring the safety of Canadians.
What message does it send to the world that 24 hours after Mr. Trump says people from Europe don't come to Canada, you are here telling other people, please come more to Canada?
The message that it sends is that we understand that immigration is an economic driver for this country. We are at a moment where we are responding to COVID-19, but we also are planning for the future. And the future of this country depends on immigration. We need to continue to grow because we have an aging population, an aging workforce, we have an accelerated number of retirements, and most importantly, we have labor shortages, where I have heard from businesses, and when I have consulted with them, and when I've consulted with my provincial counterparts right across this country, every single person is imploring us to continue to grow responsibly. And that's why this plan is so important. It's about our economic prosperity. It's about creating jobs. It's about ensuring that we remain competitive without in any way compromising the health, safety, and security of this country. And I know that this plan is a strong one, and it's one that we should all celebrate and be proud of.
Economically, sir, we're talking about COVID-19 causing a slowdown in the global economy, possibly a recession with the adding on the oil price collapse. Are you worried about Canada economically being able to absorb these extra immigrants over the next couple of years if we go through a slowdown?
As the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister have both said, and as the Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed, Canada is in a very strong position to respond to this moment. And we have seen that as a result of the decisions that this government has taken to ensure that we continue to invest in Canadians. And we've seen a track record that has created a strong record on jobs growth. And we have also seen that the fiscal position that we are in terms of our debt to GDP ratio, allows us to respond with the $1 billion in relief that is required to ensure that the healthcare system has the resources it needs to provide support for Canadians who may require to take some time off of work, and to provide support to businesses businesses who will need some transitional support over the coming months. So I'm very confident that the government has placed this economy in a strong position to respond to COVID-19.
A couple of practical questions. Are you curtailing your travel in any way? That's number one. And citizenship ceremonies, will they continue to go ahead?
Well, first, let me just say that one of the most special functions that I get to participate in as a minister is are the citizenship ceremonies, and there's nothing like seeing the look on the face of a Canadian that we get to welcome into the Canadian family. And so certainly my hope is to continue to participate in those going forward. And as for travel, I think.
Look, you got to look at these things. Everyone's standing in a room, blah, 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 a crowd's gathering. Is anyone telling you may have to look at them?
We're going to follow the advice of our experts. And this is one of the cardinal principles that this government has adhered to since 2015, which is to say we're guided by the evidence, we're guided by experts, and we will continue to do so in the way that we conduct our business, and that's right across the government. And as for travel, my travel plans, I will follow the advisories that are being issued by this government. I encourage, as the Prime Minister has, all Canadians to follow those advisories, whether it's for personal or for business reasons, and that's just prudent in the moment.
The City of Toronto is asking the federal government for an additional $77 million annually to respond to growing needs of asylum and refugee seekers. How does the federal government plan to respond to that request?
Well, first, our government's record, both in terms of supporting municipalities, is very strong, particularly as it relates to refugees. We've invested over $300 million right across the country, and the City of Toronto, my hometown, and Mayor Tory, with whom I have a very good working relationship, is one that will continue to see that support flowing forward. What I will say is that, the system on the whole is there to ensure that refugees are resettled in an orderly fashion. And these are people who are not just victims. Refugees are people who have skills, who have professional experience, and who give back. And we do that in conjunction with the help of ordinary Canadians, and it's work that we are recognized right around the world for. We set the gold standard when it comes to our asylum and our refugee system. And as for the request that has been made by the City of Toronto, I'm very aware of it. I've had good constructive discussions with Mayor Tory, and over the course of the coming months, we'll be in a position to say some more.
With regards to this flight ban from Europe, are you expecting to see more Europeans traveling to Canada to transit to the United States, and how are you planning to respond to that?
Well, again, I would simply say that we are in a position to respond to this moment with the rigorous standards which are already in place in our immigration system, with the special measures that we have introduced through our specific response to COVID-19. And obviously, as we continue to study the flows of people, we'll make sure that our systems are in place to place as a very top priority the safety and security and the health of Canadians.
Minister, borders and the flow of people are obviously a really big part of your job. Do you have concerns, especially at the Canada-US border, the land border, about countries starting to move to close their borders amid the COVID crisis?
Well, I think it's important to remain calm and to remain level-headed, and not to flinch or to overreact in the face of COVID-19. And our government has presented a plan that is informed by the evidence, that is informed by experts, and one that should give confidence to Canadians from coast to coast to coast that our immigration, our healthcare system, our public safety apparatus are all working in conjunction to protect them, to protect their health, their safety, and their security. And we will continue to do that, and we will overcome this moment and continue to succeed as a country.
To clarify, how easy would it be for a European who can't fly into the United States to fly into Canada and travel across to the United States? Is that an easy process, or would they just be caught at the border and it would be clear where they came from?
Well, again, I won't comment on the policies of other countries, but I will say that anybody who wishes to travel to Canada will be subject to the very rigorous procedures and protocols which are in place.
Votre plan, quel impact ça va avoir sur le Québec? C'est ça que...
Écoute, nous avons une très bonne collaboration avec le gouvernement de Québec. J'avais une réunion avec mon homologue, M. Jolin Barrette. Il y a une entente entre Canada et Québec qui marche très bien pour décennies. Et cette collaboration va continuer parce que nous savons que l'immigration est absolument clé pour la croissance de l'économie. Merci beaucoup.